Hello, and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. We are here to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is John Ainsworth, and today's guest is Stephen Steers. Founder of Steers Consulting Group, he's consulted, advised, and led workshops for more than 500 companies from 25 countries, and he's learned that effective sales is about listening and connecting through stories. The better you talk, the more money you make, and he's here to show you how. We're going to be talking about storytelling today. So why is it important? Who can you reach with stories? What to think through in your stories? What kind of stories to tell? And how to write them better and faster. So it's going to be great. You're going to learn a lot from it. Before we start learning from Stephen, I want to mention our sponsor. You've heard this before. We have got this profit increase report that is going to be able to help you understand how much more money you could be making in your course business, how much you could make, where you could make it, and what the steps are that you need to go through. It is personalized. My team does it for each person individually who fills the form in. So go to datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator, fill in the form. It's like 10 to 12 questions, something like that. My team will write the whole report up for you, send it back to you. You'll have a good idea of how much more revenue you could make and what you would need to do. The average increase we see with clients is about 5 times their revenue. Find out if that's going to be right for you as well. Stephen, welcome to the show, man.
John, thank you for having me. Great to see you again, man.
So a little bit of context. Our audience, they are course creators. They're an expert in a topic. They are selling courses generally for under $500, mostly even cheaper than that, maybe like $200, $100, that kind of price point. They're doing it online with no calls. So for these guys who are listening now, right, why is storytelling important for them? How does it help?
Absolutely. Love this question. The whole point of telling any story is to help your audience better tell their own story, period. That's the whole reason we do it. You could tell your own stories. You could tell stories about your customers or things you hear about, but it's about creating that emotional connection that allows whoever you serve to say, yes, this person understands me, and there's something I can gain from being a part of what they have to offer. That's why we tell stories.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So that's great. That sounds nice, right? To help them tell their own story. Does it make you more money?
It does make you more money
because
also yes, you can quantify it in the bottom line. No, it makes you more money because it allows you first to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. At a $200 to $500 price point, you're probably in a pretty competitive market, and every click and every purchase makes a huge difference to the bottom line, right? So if we can connect with someone faster on an emotional level, they're going to read longer on our sales page, and they're going to start thinking those emotions that we need them to scroll further and then click that purchase button or click that call button or tell people and share it with them. So the faster we can get people to that emotional state of understanding what they stand to gain through a story, and not just like, oh, my program has X, has Y, has Z. It's more like, here's what happened to me when I took this course. Here's how it changed my life. Here's why it's something you should check out. That's a different type of marketing and a different conversation to people where they don't feel sold to, they feel included. And that's what storytelling can do.
Got it. Okay, cool. So here's what I've got from you so far, is if I understand it right, the point of the storytelling is because people think in stories, they like stories. When you tell stories about how you can help them to achieve their own story that makes them feel a certain way, makes them feel like, this guy gets me, he's going to help me, is going to help me to achieve what it is that I want to achieve in my life, or with the kids or what have you, whatever the course is about with your dogs. And therefore, that increased emotional connection that they have, they're more likely to be interested, to engage with what you're doing, to want to buy from you, to tell other people about you.
That's correct. You nailed it.
Sounds great. All right. So where can people use these stories? Where in their marketing does it fit?
Yeah. So I have a framework. I call it Superpower Storytelling. And there's 3 audiences that you're going to encounter at all. You can kind of move these around a little bit depending on who you serve and how you sell, but they are the following. The first is your prospects. Think of these as potential clients. Maybe you have investors, or in your marketing funnel, right? You're going to be able to use stories on things like sales pages, in your blog posts, in content. If you make video, or however you sell your items, storytelling to get your prospects to wave at you and say, yes, this is the person I want to learn more about, is a great idea. Remember, selling anything is first about establishing know, like, and trust. If I know you, I'm going to be able to trust you a little bit more. And if I trust you, then I'm going to move a little more forward. And storytelling allows us to bridge that gap a little bit faster because you're telling things that are somewhat vulnerable, somewhat emotional, and just hopefully, knock on wood, aren't fake or inauthentic. And when we add that authenticity to it, as overused as that word is in marketing these days, that really creates that connection we want with people who are going to take our courses and stay with us, and also tell people about the great results they get from using and completing our courses. So that's the first, your prospects. The second audience is your team. So if you are a course creator, you probably have people helping you fulfill things and make the experience great for your customers. There's going to be certain types of stories that work well for those folks to keep them locked in on the goals that you all have together, right? Who you serve and why it's important. Think of these as co-founders, employees, or even some of your vendors. We want to get those favorable payment terms. Telling good stories is a great way. And then finally here, it's life and the stage, as I call it. So this is like if you're doing keynotes, workshops, you are talking to anybody about what you do. These are the three audiences you're going to encounter, and you need to have some type of stories for if you want to be successful at building that rapport quickly.
Got it. All right. So you can use stories to get your team on board, to get them motivated, excited, wanting to go and do the work. So you're getting them all fired up, or, understanding the mission, what have you. We've got the more general kind of content, the keynote talk, the video, the blog post, something like that. And then we've got stuff for the prospect. So that could be emails, sales pages,
blog posts,
stories on those kind of places. Okay, cool. Got it. So if you decided this is great, I buy in, I want to tell more stories, I understand these places that I can use them. Let's in my mind, I'm thinking about the prospects, because that's like the work that we do, right? That is around prospects. What do you need to think through before you start to write your story?
Absolutely. So this is part of the framework too. There's 3 questions everyone should ask before they tell any stories at all. So I want to also level set. Stories are cool. Stories are interesting, but just telling a story it's kind of useless if we don't answer these 3 questions. Okay. So the first question, one of the most important questions is, what does your audience want to learn or achieve? If you made a course, you're not just making a course to have a course, you're creating an outcome or a result that your clients are going to want to invest in and to achieve, period. We need to be able to talk around why that is and understand what it is that they want. So we point them towards the goal that they have for themselves first. Number 1, what can I get out of this by spending time, money, investing? We need to be able to answer that if we're going to tell any stories to anybody. That's number 1 question.
Okay.
The next question is, what do you want your audience to feel? Remember, we talked about emotions. People buy on emotion. I did some research over the past couple of years, and I've found that 95% of purchasing decisions are made subconsciously, which means we back into that with that 5% of logic. So we actually need to know, like, and trust people and have an emotional connection to people if we're going to say, yes, I want to buy this thing. So if we're able to label the emotions for how we want people to feel, we're going to clearly be able to say, all right, we want them to feel like they're missing out on something maybe. And then we want them to feel like there is another way. And then now that our way is the best way to get to that height that they're seeking. We want to be able to clearly archetype that and get them through a framework that allows them to say, yes, I'm here and I don't have what I want yet, but here's a great way I can get to that place that I want to get to, and to feel the emotions accompanying that.
Okay.
And then finally, third question, once they know your story, right? Once you know the emotions you want them to feel, once they know what they're going to get out of it, what are you going to ask them to do with that information? What are you asking? What's the call to action? What do people need to do next to start on their journey to getting closer to the outcome that they want? And so you also asked, what does it do to the business? Can we make more money with it? Another quick stat here, 65% of information is remembered when shared through stories.
Okay.
So versus like, oh, it's going to increase this number or that number. Yeah, that's cool. But tell me a story about it. I'll remember. Like, I remember when I saw your keynote in Mexico City, you started off with that inflection point. You had a client who just went silent, and you left us hanging there the whole time we were waiting. Like, what is she going to say? What happened? What happened? And then we finally get to that place of resolution where she's been so busy using your methods and seeing such success that she didn't even have time to send you an email. Like, I was hooked and grabbed from the very beginning, and I had to pay attention because I didn't want to miss what happened next. And I remember that even right now from 6 or 7 months later, right? Stories grab attention and get people involved and wanting to get that closure and hopefully the same results that we share that our clients get.
All right. So I want to dig into a couple of these now. So what we've got 3 questions, right? What do they want to learn or achieve? What do we want them to feel? And what's the call to action? And I feel like out of those, the call to action is probably relatively simple. From my point of view, right, with the prospect stuff, if we're looking at a prospect, we're looking at, okay, a sales email, a sales page, that kind of thing. We're looking at pointing them from the email to the sales page, from the sales page to the checkout page to hit this, put your credit card in. It's like, that's reasonably straightforward. So, but the other ones, like, what do they want to learn or achieve? And what do we want them to feel? Like, how do we figure that out?
Yeah. Okay. If you don't know the answer to those questions, maybe not have a course a little early if you don't know what people want.
No, I mean, I think it's, you're joking, but it's like, I think a lot of people, they're an expert in a topic. They know that people want to, let's say, like, right, okay. Let's say you've got a course about dog training, right? Like that example that you just mentioned there, right?
Yep.
So you've got, then this particular course is how to get your puppy house trained, right? You know that what your people want is for the dog not to pee in the house. They want it to pee outside the house, right?
Outside the house, yes.
Enough? Or do we need to understand, like, when you're asking that question, what do they want to learn or achieve? Is it just like a one-line statement is fine? Or is it like, we have to really understand at a deep level the pain and the suffering and the what it's going to look like and everything? Or is it like, what does that mean to know the answer to the question?
Yeah, I love the question. There's levels to this, right? So if we're talking about dogs as a simple example, I don't want my dog to pee in the house. Pretty clear. Now we could then, if we want to upsell, we could understand how to get the dog to come and find me if it needs to go to the bathroom, or let me know that now's the time to go for a walk, how to not get it to bark, right? So it's, if the more nuanced you can make the understanding of what they want to learn or achieve, allows you to create upsell funnels and allows you to create different products that people can buy, and you raise your revenue accordingly as well, right? So those are things to think about. But a general question, I don't want my dog to pee in the house. That's a great place to start. Now, the emotion we have is, I can't leave my dog anywhere. I can't go out and see my friends. I have to always be watching this dog. And then I got to clean it up. Like, I'm going to slip on the floor as I'm walking to my bathroom. I'm going to bed. And now I'm amped up, right? Those are all different types of emotions we can attach to a dog peeing in the house. So if we can speak to those as examples, right? If we're talking about clients who've taken our course on dogs, it's like within 3 weeks, my dog was no longer peeing in the house. And I was able to sleep through the night and able to just go take them on a walk early in the morning and in the evening. And my schedule was so much more clear. I love having my dog again. Simple, clear, nothing crazy, direct, and a problem people can identify with.
And what kind of, before you start writing a story, what kind of level of detail would you suggest people try to get on the feeling? Is it like, do your best understanding, you already know your audience, give it a crack? Is that like, great, that's the starting point, that's where we go from, that's the 80-20? Or are you like, you should always do a survey first and ask these 6 questions? Like, what do you think in that? Like, I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I don't want people to not have the ammunition they need to do the next stage. Sure.
It can work both ways. Personally, I think feedback is the breakfast of champions. So you want to ask people.
Stephen's on his deep mission today.
In my bag today, yeah, definitely. But literally, I think if you want to be successful and really take your business to another level, you want to get your customer to tell you what it is that they're having a problem with. Because I know in my entrepreneurial life, I think I'm approaching problem A. And then when I talk to people, it's actually problem C that's the biggest issue for them. And that's the one they want to learn about. So I think if you think it's problem A and that gets you some traction, test that out. But the more questions you ask to your audience is the more that they're going to say, hey, I trust you because you're asking me what I need. You're asking me what I want to learn and what I want to achieve. And you're creating products, services, and a community where we're solving those problems. And I always feel like I can tell you when something's not working or something's going well for me. And that's the underlying side of, I think, a lot of course creators kind of miss. So they're going to take your course, they're going to get results, but we want them to stay in the community and we want them to tell people about the results they get and the place that we've created for them so that they can invite people for us, right? Community is also a funnel. Let's not forget that. So let's also think about how we can start asking people. So to answer your question directly, a survey every once in a while can be a really good thing. can be an incredible thing. It just shows you're engaged and you're asking people what they want. And then you can offer a free lead magnet or something to get those people engaged and maybe get a couple of conversions. In lieu of that, if that's not something you're willing to do yet, you're an expert in your field. You probably know the top 3 problems your prospects experience. Feel free to put that out there and see what type of reception you get. But again, if you want to take it to the next level, understanding the pain, that's where you're going to raise your price. And that's where you're going to get bigger tickets and more people buying if you're clearly able to label the pain.
Okay. Here's the way I'd think about it, right? So if I'm just talking to somebody and they're asking me like, well, what should I do? Then I just give them the outline of like, what do you know about your audience? What do you think's a good story that you could tell in this case? You know, what's the kind of pain that people have got? What's the kind of feeling you want them to have, etc. If I was working with a client in our coaching program, then I would always say, let's start with the survey. Because that way I know that we're doing this minimum 3 months work. Well, the whole 3 months is going to be way better off if we do the customer avatar first and we do the survey and we have the data and it's all properly laid out. So that's kind of, I guess, what I'm getting at is like, where does it fit for you? And it sounds like what you're saying is kind of similar in that, like, you know what, you already know your audience well enough. You can do this. If you want to take it to the next level, then add the survey in and get the feedback and understand your audience even better. And then you'll be able to do an even better job with it.
Yep. Cool. And just like you mentioned, right, having a clear understanding of your avatar that's when you really start humming in your business and it becomes repeatable. So all the funnel tricks you can do, you can get a little extra revenue, but when you know exactly what your customer is looking for, you bring that to them, you're cooking with gas. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we've got so far, right? We've talked about why storytelling is important, who it's useful to tell stories to, and what to think through before you start writing your stories. So what kind of stories should people be telling?
Yeah. So there's 3 types of stories that I put. That's like a category, right? You can think of these however you like, but the first is mission. So if you're a course creator, you're an expert. What got you to start saying, hey, this is what I want to be an expert in? What was that incisive moment? Why did you choose this versus going to work for somebody else or otherwise? Like, tell me that moment. That's one example. Maybe you have a particular personality trait that you're famous for. Where did that come from? Tell me that story. Where did that interface with what you do now? And then you could also think of it as like, what made you want to share this message with the world in the form of a course? Those types of things are mission. Tell me why you started this. Think of it like an origin story. If you're a superhero, like what got you on this mission to put the cape on and start going out there and campaigning for justice or whatever it is. So that's a mission story. The second is a vision story. So think about this. This works exceptionally well for your team. If you have employees or people you work with, this helps guide the ship always going in the right direction. So if there's ever a question, oh, I'm not sure what to do next. Okay, well, does what you're thinking about doing help this vision come to fruition? It's always a place to point people and guide them. The second thing is, as far as our clientele, our prospects, and the people who take our courses, a vision helps them to say, oh, I want to be part of this thing that's bigger than I am. So big visions draw big crowds. So let's say you want to help 100,000 entrepreneurs achieve their first 5-figure month or whatever your course helps with. That's something that's like, hey, I want to be one of those entrepreneurs. I want to be part of this. And it helps people come closer to the mission that we have because they see that the vision that we are putting out in the world is something that they can see themselves as being a part of. So that's a vision story. And then the third, and I think these work the absolute best as far as like sales pages, blog posts, or in content. And these are milestone stories. So you could think about if it's from your own life, these are tales of adversity. Or if you're talking in terms of your clients, it's clients who had extremely difficult challenges when they came to us. And then through using our methodology, frameworks, et cetera, they were able to get past that block and then achieve something great. So there's a quote I love. It's by one of these ancient Greek philosophers, you know, the kind that only has like one name, right? And his name is Horace. And he says, you need change only the name. And the story is about you.
Not an ancient Greek philosopher called Horace. Come on.
There is. That's my research says. His name is Horace, bro.
He's Plato. Horace. Come on.
That's a Plato quote?
Huh?
You're saying it's a Plato quote?
No, I'm saying it's a made up name. Come on, no one's called. No Greek philosophers are called Horace.
That's what I found. Anyway,
I'm Googling it right now.
Google it. That's what I have too. But whether it's him or it's not him, I have it as Horace. He says you need change only the name and the stories about you. Right? So if it's a milestone, if it's somebody who came to your course and started working with you and like had an incredible transformation, now if I'm reading that in the testimonial or on the sales page, you're creating that emotion in me that says, oh, I can achieve results like this too.
Okay, so you see yourself in their shoes and you kind of go through and I've Googled it. There is an ancient Greek philosopher called Horace. He's absolutely right.
What?
Okay, so this is kind of like the name that Russell Brunson uses for these is epiphany bridges.
Okay.
Come across that term? Is that the same thing? Okay. So it's like telling the story of how somebody was in this situation, then they had this problem, and then they figured out this thing, and then they went through the journey, and now they're in the better place, rather than just going, logically, here's what they did. It's like, no. You have to start back at the beginning and take them on the whole.
Take me there. Yeah, take me there.
Nice. Okay. So that's mission, vision, and milestones. That's the type of stories that we've got here. Cool. All right. So someone's like, great, I'm ready. I know which of these kind of stories I'm going to write. We're talking about emails and sales pages, particularly, at least, that's what this podcast covers. So how can people then write those stories? What can they do to be able to write that more easily?
Sure. There's a framework that I teach inside of Superpower Storytelling called the AREA framework. It's called AREA specifically because it covers all the areas in which you are going to talk about anything, whether you're keynoting, you're doing workshops, you're writing sales copy, or you're doing videos. This can be a great structure for you to just fall into and tell stories. Also, works super well in impromptu speaking. If you're in a talk with a client or a customer or an investor and you're not sure what to say, this is a great way to outline your opinion. So it's really simple. AREA stands for, the A stands for angle. So what is the point of view on the topic or situation that you're talking through? So if you're talking about a course, what is it that you want to share about, right? The next is the reason. So what is the reason or cause for holding that viewpoint? Why do you hold that viewpoint? Then E is evidence. What evidence can you provide that your viewpoint is what it says it is, right? Show me and demonstrate through some evidence what that is. And then you restate your angle. So I'll give you a quick example of this, right? So here's me telling you the AREA framework with my example. I believe that cryptocurrency will change commerce forever. The reason I believe this is because cryptocurrency is reaching market saturation. The evidence I have for this is cryptocurrency adoption is growing faster than adoption of the internet at its inception, and global usage is projected to be over 1 billion people by 2025. And that's why I believe cryptocurrency will change commerce forever. Started with my point, gave you a reason, gave you evidence, and then I restated my angle. Nice, clean, pithy, direct.
Got it. All right. Talk me through some examples of like the impact that this has had for anybody, like clients or for you. How can you tell that the stories are working? What's the examples or the stories that we can tell about that?
Yeah, we can tell it's working because you're going to have people be like, thank you for sharing. That's one.
No, like actually what's happened? Like give me some examples of what's happened for you or for your clients.
When they use this technique.
Yeah.
Okay. So the majority of my clients are in a B2B setting. So they're on the phone with people. So these are incredible. You could think of this. I love this framework specifically for smashing objections. So there's 3 types of objections. This is too expensive. Will this work? And is this the right time? Right? So if we're answering this, we could use a story from a client who said, Jill from Kennesaw, Michigan came to us and she didn't think that this was the right time for her to get started. The reason she didn't think it was the right time for her to get started was because she just had a baby and her puppy had just come back from the hospital. Some of the evidence that we were able to show her that it was the right time to get started was because her business was doing X, it was doing Y, and it was doing Z. And once we outlined that for her and showed her that it wasn't going to take more than 20 minutes a day to get to the results that she was seeking, she was able to make a different conversion. And that's why we were able to share that it's the right time for her to get started. It's also probably the right time for you to get started. Objection, done. What story?
How do they know that that's working? Do you see what I mean? Like I'm trying to just dig in to kind of really be able to help the audience understand, oh yeah, this definitely is something that could work for me? Like, if you got specific client examples of where they've done that, and then, okay, conversion rate on sales calls went up or something like that, right?
Yeah, I have people whose conversions have gone up on sales. The main part is, so again, I'm doing it a lot more in a B2B context. So I have people on the phone and we're creating that emotional space. And then we're able to ask for the sale, right? The stories allow us to ask directly for their business. And we see an increase in that specific instance. What I think here could work well for course creators is, this is where we would send. So after they buy something, or if they left the sales page, we can then market to them with these types of things. So if we're able to say, we pixeled them, they got to the purchase point, they didn't buy, here we have this story that we can deploy right in context to bring them back in, not just offer a discount, right? Angela got to our sales page last week too, and didn't know if it was the right thing for her because she was afraid it was too expensive. Here's why it's great value for someone in your exact same position. And here's how Angela decided to make this purchase. And here's the results Angela got because she invested. Speak specifically to those objections right there in an email or a follow-up would work really, really well to get someone back to the cart and allow you to preserve your pricing integrity without a discount.
All right, sweet. Hopefully that's been useful, guys. And you understand now the importance of stories and what kind of stories you should be telling and who you should be telling them to and how you can write them more easily. So we've got 3 audiences: team, marketing, prospects. 3 questions: what does your audience want to learn or achieve? What do you want them to feel? What's the call to action? 3 kinds of stories: mission, vision, milestones. And if you want to tell those stories better and faster, then use the area framework: angle, reason, evidence, angle. If people want to connect with you, Stephen, or learn more about what you're doing or get your help, where can they go?
Easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm on there every day. I think the link will be in the chat. And if you want a copy of the deck for the area framework so you could use it and start working on it yourself, just feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn and I will get it to you fast. So
we've got that link. It's going to be in the show notes, but if you're listening and want to jot it down, it's linkedin.com/in/Stephen, STEPHEN -Steers, STEERS. All right. Thank you very much, Stephen. Really appreciate it, man. If you found this interview useful and you want to get future episodes, then just please subscribe wherever you listened, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Stephen.
Take care.